Hello everyone. Today I want to look at a game from 2011 between a British Grandmaster Gawain Jones and with the black pieces Alexander Baburin, longtime exponent of the Alekhine defense. So Jones started off e4, knight of 6, e5, knight d5, d4, d6, and we end up in what is known as the four pawns attack variation of the Alekhines defense. So it is possibly the most aggressive variation that you can play as white. And as you can see by erecting this large pawn center, white's intentions are obvious, just to dominate the space on the board and to blow black off the board basically before he can even get established in the position. Baburin played bishop f5. Now, normal is to exchange immediately. D takes e5, f takes e5, but there are several different variations that are played against this. And bishop f5 is one of the sidelines here. So knight f3, and it serves to keep more tension in the position instead of resolving the position so quickly. And also it serves to keep the f file closed, which is something that white will often use after the exchange if black is not careful. So this serves to keep the tension in the position, but it's very dangerous because if black cannot tear down the white center in due time, then the center will become supported by pieces, and then it will just be an advantage for white. And like I always say, is if the center is mobile, the one who possesses the pawns in the center will have an advantage. So black must be able to fix this center at some point and destroy these pawns and make the huge white center a liability. And white conversely wants to be able to keep the center as mobile as possible, constantly threatening to advance the pawns, threatening the black development by making it difficult for black to develop his pieces properly towards the center. So bishops get traded off, and now c5. So you see Baburin counterattacking the center and putting pressure on this center. However, the center is still mobile, so d5. Okay, so this is still a problem for black because the center is not demobilized yet. So e takes d5, c takes d5, and now bishop e7 is played. So there's still a lot of tension in the position here. This right here is still an advantage for white. These pawns in the center, they're not fixed, all right, and they take a lot of space in the position. So black still has a lot of work to do. Castles, and now queen e4 is played here by black. Knight c7, and now black starts to get to work on the center. So the question is it too late? The immediate threat here, of course, is d takes e5 here, exposing the d5 pawn, all right, to capture. So therefore, white plays rook d1. Queen e8. This gets the queen off the same file as the rook. And now f5. Strong move by white, because if he takes here, like he would want to do, then he would simply lose a piece to the move d6. So f5. So now black has to deal with threats of f6 and also just the space gaining move e6 here. So now king h8. White continues his development and puts more tension in the position, because now he's actually threatening to capture on d6. So rook d8, and now f6. Devastating move. Everything is forced because the bishop is threatened. So black's king side is ripped open. And now e takes d6. And again, this is all a forced sequence. Bishop takes d6. And now Jones simply steps the queen to the side and plays queen f5. Bishop takes f4. Queen takes f6 check. King g8. And now regaining the piece with queen takes f4. So now you might look and say, well, black has done good in the breakdown of the center. He has three pieces attacking this pawn right here. The pawn is now isolated, and it seems that black has won the argument here. After all, black can just capture this pawn now, and perhaps this is what Baburin had thought. The main problem in this position, though, is his king is totally exposed. If he was able to take this pawn and put it here, then he would be okay. So in this position, Baburin played queen d7, putting even more pressure on the pawn. So you might ask, why not take it right away? The problem is there's this check at the end of all of the captures on d5. So for example, knight c takes d5. Note that this knight is being attacked, right? It's hanging. So this would be the piece to capture with if you were going to capture. So knight c takes d5, knight takes d5. Let's say rook takes d5, rook takes d5, knight takes d5, and after all of that, queen g5 check, king h8, and then queen d5, and you see black is down a piece. This is why Baburin took an extra moment to play queen d7. So now he has four pieces attacking d5. And now knight e5. So this allows white to build up a nice initiative. Now we play queen e7. Now if he plays queen d6 and knight e4, and then there's no place for the queen to really go without loss of material. And if knight b takes d5, then just simply queen g5 check, and then the queen of course would be lost. So after queen d7, knight e5 was played, and now back to e7. And the simple tactic d6 decided the game. Why d6? Why does d6 work here? Again, it all has to do with the exposure of the black king. So, for example, if rook takes d6, queen takes d6, and now you see the queen is unprotected. And now you just simply step back, queen g3. Notice that the queen cannot cover here because of the knight's position on e5. So after queen g3 check, king h8, and now you can see clearly there's a fork here. And this queen falls after rook takes f7, queen d6. So this is why Baburin resigned after d6. He would simply just lose material here. The other alternative instead of queen e7 was queen d6, keeping the queen protected, but it just prolongs the inevitable after knight e4. And now you can see the queen is trapped in this scenario. So again, if he tries to play knight b takes d5, again, all the white queen has to do is just step back. Queen g5, king h8, and then just capture the queen. Again, after queen d6, knight e4, instead of trying to counterattack, if he goes to queen e7, then knight f6, hitting the king, king h8, and then queen h6, and there's no way to stop this mate except, again, to give up the queen. If king g7, the same scenario, pushing the king in the corner, and again, the only way to stop mate on h7 is to just give up the queen, for the knight. So this is why Baburin lost the game. So to summarize in a nutshell, again, if you cannot stop your opponent's center, right, from being mobile, then it is definitely a tremendous liability. So we saw black try to break down, try to slow down a white center, but at the end, he wasn't able to do it. And the main reason is because of the weakness that was created on the king side. So um, the open G file was basically like the nail in the coffin for black, because most of the tactics revolved around the king being exposed, whereby there was a check at the end of these various combinations. So black probably, in my opinion, I couldn't find a real improvement in black's play earlier, except to um, stick with the main lines in the Alekhine defense. Like, I don't really like this line too much against the four pawns attack. I'm a big fan of the traditional approach of capturing D takes E5, F takes E5 immediately. Okay, knight C6. You know, the immediate attack on the center, and followed by bishop F5 and so forth. There's another line here also after F takes is C5, which is very sharp. But again, I'm more of a fan of the traditional D takes, F takes, knight C6, bishop E3, and bishop F5 traditional line, and I feel that black is just fine in that continuation. Here, I think white just gets a little too much leeway here, and the buildup of tension in the position kind of allows white to fortify his grip on the center. And as you can see, it got to a place where black wasn't able to, get an adequate level of counterplay in the position. All right, it took a little tactical insight for white, but nevertheless, he wasn't able to. Black wasn't able to solve his problems there. And again, at this point, white is already pretty much unstoppable in the center, as black is not even able to exchange pawns on e5 or anything like that. So um, I would avoid this line unless there's some improvement that I'm, obviously missing at this point. Sure, say for instance after knight c3, again black can just revert to the main line by just capturing here. But so I'm speaking more of along the lines of how this wasn't you know ever transposed into. Like, he could have played D takes a few times, but he never did. And this allowed white to obtain this position, which of course was good for white. So anyway, I hope you liked that video. Some players that we don't hear about too often. I like to show games of the quote unquote lesser grandmasters, not always the top 10. So there's a lot of interesting games and chess out there. So anyway, I hope you liked that video. Please like, subscribe, comment. I look forward to hearing from you. Also, check the links below. Please support and donate to my channel. And also notice that there's links, DVD/books below. And I always try to place the links according to whatever opening appeared on the board during our discussion. So in this case, it was Alekhines defense. So check the links below for DVDs/books related to that opening. And I'll see you guys on the next video.